Titans Global. Let's go. Started with a vision, two voices in the mix. Max and Link together, building something that'll stick. Every episode we drop, yeah, we're reaching new heights. Titans Global on the map, burning bright every night. From the first recording session to the fans that tune in, we've been grinding every day, yeah, we're destined to win. Titans Global, that's the name, that's the brand, we the fans. Speaking truth through the microphone, messages that we send. Titans Global, that's the movement. Titans Global, feel the power. Titans Global, we keep pushing. Titans Global, this our hour. Titans Global, Max and Link. Titans stronger than you think. Titans Global, that's the way. Titans Global, every single day.
What's up, Titans fans? Welcome to Titans Global Podcast. I'm your host, Maximus Titan Fan, and we will try to get through this as smoothly as possible. With me, as always, however, is my good cohort buddy, Link. How you doing tonight, Link?
I am. So, not going to waste a lot of time, but as always, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Get in the comment section. Plenty to talk about tonight. Don't want to waste a lot of time because, man, we've got a lot to get to, and the pregame is probably the least important of all those, but we're going to get into that too. So with that being said, like I said, get in the comment section and we'll get right into it.
Yeah, so, all right, yeah, I'll be honest, the pregame does seem kind of back road to a lot of the storylines that are going on with the Titans right now, but we'll glaze over some of the, the norm stuff. Normal Titan time, normal Titan channel. 0-3 Titans, 0-3 Texans, over and under 38.5. I mean, this all seems right. The 7 points, however, I think is a little bit ridiculous. But whatever. I mean, it happens. It happens. Hey, thank you very much for the stars there, Matthew. So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I would take the under, by the way. As far as rankings go, I'm not going to get into a bunch of this crap because we both suck. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. Both teams suck. Their defense is a little bit better than our defense, but other than that, both teams suck. The big difference here that I see in all these stats is when it gets close to the end zone. So, like, the Titans' defense in the red zone is 10th in the NFL, and Texans are 25th. As far as scoring goes, basically, the Texans are 32nd in total scoring offense, red zone, and third down offense. So, the Titans ain't much better. They're usually 28, 27, somewhere around in there on all those stats as well. But my point is that the teams are pretty much evenly matched. Their defense might be a little bit better because they have better edge rushers, but they haven't really done anything so far. I think Danielle Hunter has 2 sacks, and Will Anderson Jr. has none.
He's got 3. He's got 3. He leads the team.
Oh, does he? Oh,
yes.
Well, then crap. I don't know what I was looking at earlier. Penalties, Titans 31, Texans 24. I mean, you see the theme here. We're both sloppy, not playing great. And the big difference is, not to just cut in, but the big difference is one team expected this to an extent. I don't think we expected to be 0-3 this way, but there was a good possibility that we entered this game at 0-3, whereas the Texans, they're in a situation they did not expect at all. I mean, this was a team who was projected by many to win the division. They thought they would be a top offense and certainly a top defense. And here we sit, and they are nowhere near expectations. So that's the main storyline going into this one for me, is you've got one team who's kind of sitting on the outside with all the struggles we see with the Titans. And on the other side, the Texans are just trying to figure out what's gone wrong in the first 3 weeks. Because, I mean, obviously, if you look at the roster, they have much more talent than the Titans have. Still a much higher probability to get a successful season, in my opinion. Whereas the Titans, they're just kind of, I don't know a good word for it, struggling.
struggling in a way that we expected, but not as bad as it is. So that's the big storyline to me.
Yeah, gotta give a shout out to Scoob tonight. Poor man is having to work tonight. So after hours, which is crazy. But hey, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do to make that dollar, and I understand that. We'll see him next week, I'm sure. That was a great segue, by the way. If you ever need one, just moan really loud. Injury report. Titans are banged up a little bit. Looks like J.C. Latham is going to miss another game. Bryce Oliver, Kilo Mullings, and Kevin Winston, I don't expect him to play either. Zeitler looks like he's going to be back, though, so that's kind of nice. But on the other side of the ball, however, there is a big injury that I want to talk about that I do think is going to make a difference if he does not play, and that's Derek Stingley. He did not participate in the last two practices, and I think that might be something that we might be able to, I don't know, take advantage of in some way.
Yeah, from the reports I've seen, doesn't look like he's going to be able to start. I will mention something on the Titans side, and I don't think it's a big deal, but I also didn't think it was a big deal when T'Vondre Sweat showed up, because he said he was going to play and then he's on IR. But Cam Ward showing up, limited participant today. Again, not something that I think it's a major issue. However, for a quarterback who has as bad of an offensive line as the Titans do, maybe something to keep an eye on. Just pointing that out. He's going to be tested. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I agree with that. He's definitely going to be tested. That's just because I think our O-line sucks, most of our O-line. Let me rephrase that. But I will say, and I do have to admit, that Moore played a lot better than he did in the first two games in this last game, but I don't know that I would still call it a good performance. Some people are. I don't know.
A pretty low bar.
Yeah, I don't. Same. Yeah. All right. So storylines, because we're going to talk a little bit more about the game along with storylines, but right now it's bow time, baby, and I'm not sure if that's a great thing or not, but damn it, desperation is a stinky cologne, and the Titans are walking into it smelling like a. I can't say that because that is bad. But they're just stinking right now. They're stinking up the whole place with their desperation. But the only thing that gives me a little bit of hope here is in 2023, Bo Hardegree, whatever. Hardegree. Thank you. Having trouble with that. He became the interim offensive coordinator for the Raiders. Now, he wasn't retained or anything like that, but he did produce good numbers for them when called upon. Pre-Bo, you're looking at about 15.75 points per game and 268 yards per game. Post-Bo, or, with Bo calling the plays, 22 points per game, or actually 22.8, whatever. 294 yards per game. So a significant increase there. And he was working with a quarterback that nobody had ever heard of before. So, and, obviously didn't pan out. So, I give him a little bit of credit. I'm interested to see how it is. It sure seems like Cam Ward was excited about it, but I'll be honest, I think Cam Ward would say anything at this point because he is that just type of dude. Yep. I think he's a team first guy, and he's always going to talk good about the team no matter what. So, yeah, bro, it is it is rough right now for us Titans content creators. I don't know. I don't call myself I'm just a fan. I'm just a fan speaking my truth about the Titans, and it's hard. Lady Titan, man, dude, that chick is awesome. By the way, I don't know if you're so active on Twitter, but she put out a video earlier this week that absolutely tickled me pink. Followed her with my 2 accounts that I have on Twitter or whatever. Anyway, she was awesome, and I hope that she is continued to be awesome.
So to kind of build on the hard agree situation, obviously this was a Hail Mary last-ditch effort. I say obviously, in my opinion, it was a Hail Mary last-ditch effort to keep Callahan on the staff. He has struggled managing play calling and in-game situations. So I think this is kind of an opportunity to see if he improves at the in-game situations, because he's clearly been overwhelmed. I don't think this was Callahan's decision.
Nope.
I can't say that for a fact, but the writing's on the wall. I think if he had had it his way, if he had to choose any other play caller besides himself, it would have been Nick Holtz. Still not really sure what Nick Holtz does in this building, other than just be there. But
he helps build the game plan.
Sure. I guess it kind of makes sense with Bo Hardigree. He's already the guy that's in Cam's ear the most, being the quarterback's coach. So it's somebody that Cam is already comfortable with. But yeah, it's a situation where, look, Callahan came into this and his love of football and love of coaching was the play calling. That's what he was most excited about. He said that's what his passion was. And now here we are in year 2, and that has been stripped from him. So there's 2 ways to look at this. Either this is setting up for Callahan to leave the building, or like I said, it's a last-ditch effort and maybe it works out and he can manage an in-game situation. Play calling gets a little better and they show some improvement. But this isn't a good thing. Like it may dress the offense up a little bit, but for anybody thinking, oh, good, they changed play calling, they're going to be more aggressive, they're going to look better. Like this isn't a positive. This is something that I don't think Callahan was happy about. I don't know if it caused a rift, but I wouldn't be shocked if it did. And that may lead to more changes down the road. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah, I will agree with Matt here. I do think that it is going to be a little bit more aggressive. I am expecting a little bit more of Cam Ward doing what Cam Ward does. And I think it'll honestly be a little bit more of what Cam Ward wants to do. Because, and honestly, if the offense takes off and actually produces really well, like if we get our first 300-yard game in the first damn game, that's going to be, I don't know, man. If I was Callahan, I think I would just kind of bow out at that point,
Yeah, because clearly, that's not a compliment to Callahan. Like if the offense, like this is a lose-lose situation.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't look good, it's okay. We still have bigger issues. And if it does look good, then it's bad on Callahan, because why didn't it look good in the first 3 weeks? So it's Callahan's in a really tough spot, and I kind of feel for the guy. But yeah, this is a lose-lose situation for Bill or Brian.
Yeah.
Sorry. Well, I mean, really both of them, but
I was going to say, but no, I agree with you 100%. It's like you said, if it looks bad, then it's just, oh, well, we're the same we were, it doesn't matter who we have calling plays. Exactly. If it looks good though, yeah, then this young guy you brought over to be the quarterback coach is a better play caller than you are as a head coach or as the offensive coordinator for the freaking Bengals. And I find it funny, by the way, Bengals Twitter right now is calling for Zach Taylor to give up play calling duties because his offense is too predictable and not aggressive enough. What does that sound like? But I don't know why they're calling it not aggressive enough. I mean, Chase eats up the deep ball. But whatever. If it's getting too predictable, then yeah. If it's just all go routes, it might have worked for a year or two because the guy is super talented. But Same thing. I just find that funny though that the guy he came from, the tree he branched off of, is having the same issues. So yeah, after that, the biggest I think headline this week was we traded Jarvis Brownlee Jr. To the New York Jets. The Titans received a sixth round pick, and the Jets received a seventh round pick and Jarvis Brownlee Jr., which did surprise me. I'm not going to lie. However, I want to get this off my chest real clear and real quick. I talked about this. I talked about this after the Broncos game in the video that I found, that I kind of thought he wasn't taking any accountability for what he did in the game, and I thought he was kind of brushing it off, and I didn't really like his response to, all the PIs, and whether they were all his fault or not, I'm not going to debate that. The point is that I didn't like how he responded to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then on Sunday, me and you texting each other, one of the first notes I made was Jarvis Brownlee Jr. showed up in a damn walking boot today. What the hell? He wasn't even on the injury report. What happened? Why is that happening? And he held his head down. If you watch that video again, I didn't pay attention to it until after the trade, and I went back and watched a bunch of these videos. But yeah, he held his head down like a kid who had just gotten in trouble by his dad. Like he didn't want to talk. He didn't want to be seen. So I feel like there was either a rift in maybe not the locker room with the players, but with the coach, and how he felt like Jarvis Brownlee Jr. either wasn't coachable or wasn't buying into his style or whatever. And I think that really contributed to the fact of him getting traded, because honestly, if I look at this from a non-biased point of view, this also goes back to show the video where he got into a fight in the Buccaneers joint practice with one of the fans. Again, just goes to show that the aggressiveness is just too much. But anyway, my point is, if it's not a character issue type thing, I'm going to say type thing because I don't know what else the hell to call it, then it makes absolutely no sense. We just gave away a diamond in the rough that we found in the 5th round for pennies. So there has to be something. There has to be something that we don't know about. And Jarvis has come out and said, look, I'm a good character guy. I've been a good character guy at the colleges I've played at. All the guys in the locker room say he's a good character guy, high energy, brings all the fun, which I thought he was a fun player too, to be honest. But I will admit that the fight in Florida got me a little alarm belly. And then the video that I saw again set off alarm bells. So when he was traded, it was a shock to me, but I started to piece together the pieces pretty quickly, because otherwise, like I said, this makes absolutely no sense. And I'm sorry I went on such a rant, but let me know what you think about that.
Yeah, I'm gonna fully disagree with you here. Because okay, so let's take the locker room after the penalties. Was it the best response? No, absolutely not. What I saw was a young player who was frustrated with the penalties that were called against him. He's always played physical. He said that he had talked to refs before the game. They didn't really care. And I'm kind of summarizing here. It wasn't the best response. I get that. Okay. Coaches don't love that. Ownership probably doesn't love that. The team probably likes it, if we're being honest. Go back to the fight. You mentioned the fight in Tampa Bay. They were rallying around him. Like, the team was with him. So in the press conference with Callahan, who shouldn't have even been doing that press conference after the Brownlee trade, I'll get into that more later, said flat out he wasn't an issue in the locker room. I didn't think he was uncoachable. Like, we had a good relationship. So to me, I agree in the sense that it makes no sense, but I don't think it was a character issue in the way that like he was doing something wrong. To me, what this feels like is the people in place, the people who make the roster decisions want their guys. And this is and I don't even know that this is it, but this is the only thing that makes sense in my head. The people that are in charge of the roster want their dudes on this team. And he became an odd man out is kind of how I feel. The thing with the boot is interesting, and I could be totally wrong on this, but Javis Brownlee doesn't strike me as the guy who's going to milk or fake an injury, because this is a dude who has been very vocal about the young people, himself included, being the leaders on this team and having to step up and mentor the guys around them. He's been very, very vocal about that. He's a guy who is going to give it 110% every time he steps on the field. And I'm not saying he's a perfect player. He's made mistakes. There was some pre-draft stuff that came out about him where some of the other teams said, well, he's off our board because of this, this, and this. But I think it is absolutely stupid for this organization to spin it as a culture issue. And that feels like what they're trying to do with the whole Easton Freeze thing, saying that, well, there's some stuff behind the scenes that I can't really talk about. And I like Easton Freeze, but he's a spokesperson of the team. Whether he's getting fed true information or not is different, but he's being fed information directly from the team. So they're going to put out what they want to put out, and they're going to spin it in the way that they want to spin it. But to act like this dude was a problem in the locker room and a culture issue when the coach says otherwise, the teammates say otherwise, the tape says otherwise, that to me is dumb. Because I'm watching L'Jarius Sneed talk crap in the locker room, a man who wasn't here all of training camp, doesn't even see the practice field, and by the way, has a court date on November 1st for being in a car that shot at somebody. So if you want to talk about a culture issue, maybe we talk about that. Maybe we talk about Jeffrey Simmons getting a fight with a rookie quarterback at practice and then going on the field and blatantly hitting a guy maybe 8 seconds after the whistle, getting a penalty that could have very well cost them that game. Maybe we talk about that and how he's not being reprimanded on the sideline. So to tell me it's a culture issue and this is a cancer in the locker room and a bad dude, like that's absolute bullcrap. Absolute bullcrap. And there's other words I could say, but this is a family-friendly show, and I'm gonna try to keep this as calm as I can. But right now I see an organization that is undercutting their players, that is picking favorites. And this has taken me right back to the crap we talked about with Mike Vrabel. In a different way, because we always talked about Mike Vrabel has his guys on the coaching staff and they're not going anywhere and they're picking favorites when it comes to players. This to me feels like the people who are in charge of roster management, i.e. Chad Brinker, is wanting his dudes on this team, and anybody who doesn't fit what Chad Brinker wants is now going to be off of this team. So I expect more moves to be made. I expect complete lack of communication from ownership because, and I'll get into this now, Brian Callahan should not be the one giving the press conference on this trade. Absolutely not, because this wasn't Brian Callahan's decision. Either that or he's flat out lying to your face, because he gets up there and says, no, he wasn't an issue. He never says he didn't expect it or anything like that. But just hearing his language, hearing the way he talks, I don't think he had anything to do with this. I don't think the coaching staff wanted to lose Javis Brownlee, because now, I mean, you're not in a better position. You took a 5th-round pick who had shown really good signs on the football field, and you traded him for a 6th-round pick. So you get essentially nothing. You get negative return on the guy. You lose depth at your cornerback position, which you're already struggling at anyway. So I don't understand, if he wasn't uncoachable, if he wasn't a problem for the coaching staff, then it makes no sense. It makes no sense. But we shouldn't be hearing from Callahan. We should be hearing from the people that made this decision. We should be hearing from Borgonzi. We should be hearing from Brinker. And hell, at this point, I'm ready to hear from Amy, because they want to sell us a new stadium in 2027, upcharge on the seats, and then you're going to put this crap on the football field and expect us to show up for it. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. There's no communication from ownership. And for Brian Callahan to be there tells me one of two things. Either he's a dead man walking and he doesn't care what he says and he's just going to be completely honest with reporters, or two, he doesn't know what the hell's going on. And I think both situations are equally as likely, which is really unfortunate. So I don't know. This just feels mismanaged. This feels very shady. This feels like people are picking favorites. This is how you lose a locker room. And I'm not talking about the coaching staff. This is how ownership, this is how the people in charge of the roster, this is how you lose those players. Because they talked to, was it James Williams, who's his locker mate, who was like, well, the Jets just got a hell of a player.
Like his best friend, yeah.
They didn't want this dude off the roster because it makes no sense to take him off the roster. He's a young player who wants to be a leader. So, like, this doesn't set you up for the future. I mean, what's the saying? Draft, develop, retain. This is the exact opposite of that to me. I mean, you're hurting yourself in the future draft. You're losing a guy who showed promise as a 5th rounder. I don't know. At some point, it's stupid. It's just stupid. This organization as a whole, to me right now, feels stupid. And until they give us more information and tell us what the real reasons are, I'll continue to think that because, I mean, we've been given nothing.
Well, another question I wanted to throw at you is, because I think it drastically changed it, but what do you think this does for Roger McCreary's situation? And, I mean, if we're going to retain any young talent, clearly Roger McCreary is one of the younger, brighter stars that we have left in the cornerback, the only one left in the cornerback room. We really should either sign him to an extension or something.
I don't know at this point because, again, it's almost like a popularity contest is what it feels like. I hope Roger McCreary is able to stay on this team, but now you're taking a guy and just putting more pressure on him because you're not giving him any help. Because, I mean, Roger McCreary right now is probably one of the best slot corners in the NFL. I mean, he's very talented, a lot of upside, but you're not giving him any help. You don't have dudes on the outside that can keep up with these receivers. No matter what L'Jarius Sneed said, I promise you he knows who Nico Collins is, and if he doesn't, he's probably going to know who he is after this week. That's absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely
that was
ridiculous.
Hilarious, dude. I was like, what are you doing?
I think you've got a lot, and I'm just going to say it, I think you got a lot of clowns on this team. I think you got people who are playing for selfish reasons. This doesn't feel like a team mentality. The one bright spot right now is Cam Ward, but guess what? Like, as you make this team worse, you're gonna coach bad habits into him. And when you don't give him a defense, and when he doesn't have an offensive line, and when he sees guys that he's growing up with, when he sees them get cut from a roster for basically no reason, that's not instilling confidence in him with where he's playing. So I don't know, man. This just, to me, this is just a really dark place for the Titans right now. And not even I don't even care about the record because I didn't expect this to be a successful season when it comes to the record. I didn't expect this to be a playoff team. I knew this was a rebuild, but it's one step forward and 2 steps back. And you're just not setting yourself up. And what really blows my mind is, like, Borgonzi should know this. Like, from a dude who came from Kansas City, who helped build Kansas City into what they are, he's doing the complete opposite. And I say he's doing it. I don't think Borgonzi has a lot of say in this stuff either. I think it's coming from the people at the top, and I think it's coming from Chad Brinker. I feel like he's a lot of the problem. Even when you go back to previous seasons, like, he's the constant. He's the constant to a lot of the negative things that happen with the Titans. And I'm not trying to pin this all on one person because it's been a collection of stupidity. But I'm just looking at the constants. And for me, he's one of the biggest constants. And look, you can't force an owner to sell. You can't force her to put the right people around her. the only thing you can do is exactly what we saw last week, and that's boo the hell out of them until they change something. But apparently that doesn't even work because they booed her and she traded away one of the better 5th-round picks we've seen come through Tennessee. So I don't know, man. I don't know. This is just a really dark place for this team right now. It's hard to sit back and watch. And again, I could be wrong. I'll be very interested to see if come Sunday Javis Brownlee still has a boot on, or if he's on the field for the Jets. Like that's going to be a big tell. That's going to be a big tell. And again, I could be wrong. Maybe he is an issue. But from everything I've heard from the coaching staff, from the players, he wasn't. And we still haven't been given a good reason why we traded him for essentially a sack of footballs.
Yeah, so I'm noticing tonight that you don't have a lot of strong opinions about what's going on tonight with the Titans right now.
It's just hard to, as a fan, as somebody who has watched this team be great, it's just, I feel like they're falling apart at the seams, and it couldn't, and I'll stop. I promise I'll stop. But it couldn't come at a worse time. It couldn't come at a worse time because you bring in a rookie quarterback who gives you a lot of hope. You're opening up a new stadium. You're doing all these things that you're trying to build this brand and become this big market and bring all these hopes to Nashville. But then you go and do this stuff behind the scenes that just sets you back 2 years. Like, that's what it feels like. So, and it's not just about Brownlee. Like, honestly, Brownlee probably shouldn't even be a starter if we're being real. Like, he's a very good depth piece, but on a championship contending team, he's probably not a starter. But it's just the small things. It's the attitudes. It's the patterns. It's the fact that you've got guys like Simmons and you've got guys like Snead that we don't see any accountability go towards those guys. But then you have a young guy like Brownlee who's physical, and yeah, he gets some penalties, and yeah, he's a little rough around the edges, but this is the reaction he gets from the organization. So again, it's the favorites picking, it's the popularity contest stuff that's just frustrating. It's just frustrating to watch.
Yeah, and I have to make the comment about you were talking about Snead and the whole who thing. Snead, I don't really care about PFF all that much, but your jersey number and your PFF grade were pretty damn close to the same last week. So, and Nico Collins, from what I know, is one of the better wide receivers in the NFL. So, damn it. Don't be starting trouble with people week. You know what I mean? Anyway, we need to go to break. And I promise we're going to talk about some positive something somewhere. Until then, I was going to say, just hang out. We got like 40 seconds, and we'll be back.
What's up, Titans fans? Maximus Titan fan here. Are you in need of professional excavation services? Look no further. Red Zone Builders has the expertise, experience, and equipment to handle all or any excavation project, big or small. Whether you need land clearing, site preparation, trenching, foundation excavation, or any other excavation services, they have you covered. Their team of skilled professionals work diligently to ensure your project is completed safely, efficiently, and to your satisfaction. Trust the experts at Red Zone Builders to get the job done right.
And we're back.
Yeah, I want to go back to Snead
all right.
that you mentioned before the break. So he's asked in the locker room about Nico Collins, and his response is who? And then the reporter basically doesn't understand his response, because why in anybody's right mind would Snead have the audacity, after not practicing, not being at training camp, and being fairly average on the field, is asking who about the leading receiver of the Texans. So the reporter really doesn't understand the response. So they ask him again, Nico Collins, and he continues to say who. That's stupid. That's stupid. You're an 0-3 team. You've played like an average corner at best, and you're about to go up against Nico Collins, who's the leading receiver of the Houston Texans, which, by the way, like, your receivers you could say who about them? Like Calvin Ridley, where the hell's he been? Your one bright spot's been Alec Manor, but I don't understand. I don't understand that, which I get it. That Snead's mentality because he's a pro and swag. I guess I'd rather him be a good football player, but yeah, it's cool that he can talk crap. We'll see if he backs it up on the field.
Yeah, like Nico, Jesus Christ.
Who?
It's like Kid Rock said, it's only cocky if you can't back it up. Anyway, yeah, exactly. Nico who, man. Gosh, man. I just hope he doesn't, roll us for like 200 or 300 yards.
I mean, would that not be the most Titans thing to happen though? Like,
yeah, it probably would. Ridley, we were talking a little bit about him and where he's been all season. So he's had So he's had some pretty catastrophic drops this season.
Yeah.
And just some really bad play. So I decided to go back and look at the first 3 games of last year just to see how they measure up. So last year he had 8 receptions on 16 targets. This year he had 8 receptions on 21 targets. Let's keep in mind that he was complaining last year at this time because he wasn't getting enough targets. I think that was the second game. Yard per reception is 17 and 24. It's 13.9 this year. Total yardage, 136 and 1 touchdown in 24, 111 this year. So he is on the exact same trending path, just at a lower level. So he's on the same graph and going at the same level. It's just down here instead of up here. So I don't know, man. I'll be honest with you. I thought second year in the offense. Now he's got a more accurate quarterback. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. It seems like Calvin Ridley is just one of those guys that sometimes he's on and sometimes he ain't. And so far we've seen more not on than on.
Yeah, and it's not the fact, look, not every drop that's been recorded. I'm not saying every pass was perfect. Like even last week where he had the bobble and went to the ground and had the chance, like that's a tough catch. I get it. It's a tough catch. There's been some passes that have some heat on them that are on the fingertips. That's a tough catch. So I understand that, but you're paid $96 million. Is that somewhere around that range?
Yep.
Those are passes that if you bring in a $96 million receiver, you expect them to make at least some of those plays. You brought him in to be a playmaker. You brought him in to make the tough catches. You brought him in to spark the offense. And if anything, he's held the offense back. So yeah, just another frustrating part to it, but we're used to this as Titans fans. The Randy Mosses, the Julio Jones, we were
talking about it before the show. I think both of us would absolutely love to know who is making the decisions on some of these things, like the Calvin Ridley. I mean, as far as I know, that was a Rand signing. But, I mean, how much influence did Chad Brinker really have on that? Or Bill Nihill? Or, what was the guy? Damn it. He was vice president when we were, when we hired Rand. Big, bushy mustache. Can't remember the dude's name. It's killing me. He was with us for a long time, then retired and came back for 1 year for Amy and then retired again. But I want to know how much of this is on them as well as these people that are getting the can and taking most of the heat for this. Now, obviously, I don't think Rand was a stellar choice for GM. Otherwise, he would have had a bunch of calls after he was fired. So I don't know, man. I just really think that like I said, I would just like to know who's making a lot of these decisions and who we can actually hold accountable. Because we're talking about accountability with the players, I want some accountability with the staff.
And for me, that's what I'm saying. Was John Robinson probably behind the AJ Brown trade? Like that's our understanding. Like, okay. Carthon, was he behind the Ridley signing? That's our understanding. Okay. But I'm looking at the constants here. I'm looking at who brought these people in the first place. And the constants that keep popping up to me are Nihil and Brinker. So at some point, you've got to look at the overall and say, was Carthon the best choice? Probably not. Was Robinson the best choice? Probably not. But you signed off on those guys. Was Callahan the best choice? Probably not. Now, as fans and as, I guess, analysts, if you want to call us that, like that was our first choice. But I think both of us both said, Callahan was the way to go. Like he's going to bring in the most explosive offense. So, but for this organization, for the people that control this franchise, they just keep making the wrong decisions time and time and time again. And I look at the constants, and that constant to me is Amy Adams, which good luck. Nothing's changing there. Like she's going to own this team until the day that she passes it along to whatever kid she decides to. And Chad Brinker. And look, even when Borgonzi was brought in, like Brinker was essentially promoted. I guess you could call it a promotion, but it was basically said that he would have final say. Borgonzi definitely had roster management privileges, but at the end of the day, the final say went to Brinker. That was what we were pitched. It was a new thing, which I think even the NFL sent a letter like, excuse me, like how does this work? Like we got to make sure this is legal in the way that you're controlling the franchise. Like it was even confusing to the NFL at that point of like who really controls what. And now we're seeing the repercussions of that. So if you can't fire Amy, and you can't blame Amy because I hate to say it, but nothing's changing there. You've got to look at the people that are directly under her and who she chooses to surround herself by. And I think right now she just has the wrong people in her ear and the wrong people making these decisions. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. It does feel shaky at best. And I'll just leave it at that because I'm trying to be positive, man.
But we're getting a new stadium.
We're getting a new stadium. We might be doing some cool stuff with that. Concerts, Bigfoot rallies or monster truck rallies. Bigfoot rallies. Jesus.
Yep.
Oh man. All right. I'm sorry. I'm a little tired this evening, but well, thank you. Yeah, I don't know if it's really scheme or I don't know. I see a lot of scheme issues on the offensive side of the ball. As far as the defense goes, I think our defense just gets wore out and put in bad positions by our offense, but I know that's just an excuse. I don't know.
And I mean, and I got you way off track. You were talking about the Ridley thing. Part of it, well, no, I mean, because you mentioned scheme, part of it has to do with scheme in a way, because if you watch the all 22 and the routes that the receivers are taking, like it doesn't feel like you're putting your receivers with the best chances to win. They're very long developing plays. It's harder for them to find separation. So to a point, yes, scheme has a lot to do with that. But Calvin Ridley, that's what he was brought in for, to be the separation guy, to be the twitchy guy, to be the quick guy, the downfield vertical threat. Like that's what he was brought here for. So maybe scheme does have more to do with that than I'm giving credit to. But at some point, you just got to be a player. Like you have to just be different. You have to separate yourself. And that's what we haven't seen from Ridley. I mean, if anything, I've seen it from the rookie Islemander more than I've seen it from Ridley. So maybe scheme has something to do with it. Maybe we see something different this week with Hardigreaves calling plays. Right now, it's just a perfect storm of a bad offensive line, a young quarterback who's still learning as he goes, and receivers that are struggling to get open. And when they do open, they're struggling to catch the ball. So part of its roster, part of its scheme, part of its decision making, it all culminates into this, just a bad product. So it's hard to point. My point is, it's hard to just look at one thing and say, fix this and you'll be better, because it's a lot more than that. I just don't know where they start. And this was where I found myself last year. Like, obviously we had to get better, but it's like, where do you start? Do you start on the line? Do you start at your playmakers? Do you start at the quarterback position? Like, there's just so much to fix. I don't think this team is very good at narrowing in and saying, let's start here and then build from this. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, and again, I have to kind of reel myself in every now and then, because I'm an avid football fan and I just want to win at all costs. But to be a good franchise or whatever, you need to build from the bottom up and yada yada yada. So I am trying to be patient. It is only week 3. I don't know if you want to call it the first year of a rebuild. It's really the second year of a rebuild, but sure, we'll go with the first year of a rebuild.
I call it the first year of a rebuild because we were promised last year it would be better.
Yeah, so I mean, we're and we spent a lot of money to try to make it that way.
Exactly.
So yeah, I agree with you on that. So I try, like I said, I try to tamper my expectations. I try to realize, okay, young offense, but like you said, there are just these things that bother me, like the drops by Ridley, the offensive penalties by Zeitler of all people, just little things it's just frustrating as a fan to have to endure this kind of stuff. But like I said, it's only week 3. We got 2 good weeks ahead of us, I think, because 0-3 Texans maybe, and the Raiders aren't great. Let's be honest. The Raiders aren't killing anybody out there. So we got 2 weeks here that we might be able to sneak out a win, depending on what we look like. But another big storyline before we roll is I wanted to talk about sacks and how they have Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. And I looked it up, and now I could be wrong on this figure too. You'll have to double check me on this, but I looked it up and I thought it's only 9 total sacks for the whole team. That seems low. And then I thought, well, let me see what the Titans are, because I'll bet we're close to that. 2 sacks for the Titans in the last 3 games. Completely unacceptable. And that is my biggest stressor of the rest of this show. I want to talk about, what do we do? And again, desperation is a stinky cologne. But what do we do to generate some type of pressure?
I don't know. Rush 11. I mean, I don't know at this point.
I'll be honest with you. You know who is most frequent, like when they go into the backfield getting pressure and getting sacks? Well, I guess he hasn't got a sack this season yet, but he's gotten awful damn close 2 or 3 times. Roger McCreary.
Yeah,
every time they blitz him. I know that's
the issue. Like, is it good that Roger McCreary is able to get in the backfield? Absolutely,
fantastic. Yes,
but he shouldn't
have to.
Exactly.
Yes, because most of the time it should be done by your edges or your linebackers. That's what they're there for. But the problem is that our defense just doesn't have it. I mean, it just does, especially with Sweat out. And another thing I wanted to bring up tonight that I'm just now remembering, J.C. Latham, this is going to be his 3rd game missed.
Yep.
Should we not have just put him on IR and let somebody, I mean, that's an extra roster spot. We might not have had to play whatever you want to call the game that they were playing with Crenshaw Dickerson, where they released him and then fucking re-signed him the next week or whatever off waivers. You don't even have to do that if you put J.C. Latham on IR And again, I feel like that's just another mismanagement. But who do I blame that on?
But it's more than that. It's Udo, who was on the initial 53-man roster, who was J.C. Latham's direct backup. And then the next game that J.C. Latham's out, he's moved to a backup, and you elevate a practice squad player and start them. So why weren't they on the initial roster? Like, it's complete mismanagement of this roster. And to answer your question, what we were told at the beginning of the season was Brinker. Am I wrong? Like, it was
No.
Borgonzi. Borgonzi is here to bring in the right players, but at the end of the day, the final say goes to Chad Brinker. That's what
Brinker,
we were told.
from what I understand, is the bridge between Amy and the rest of the staff.
So why the hell is he not at a podium answering these questions? Why does he have no accountability? Why is Javis Brownlee held to a certain standard, but other guys aren't? Why? And look, I am very critical of Brian Callahan. I have been very critical of Brian Callahan. I have done all but curse the guy's name. But I'm giving him some grace here because he's being rolled out and forced to answer these questions about the roster and about the trades and about the management when he shouldn't be. That's not his job. I mean, I guess technically it's his job, but I don't think he knows. I don't think he knows what the hell's going on behind the scenes. I think he's just given a team and they're saying good luck. Like, that's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. So I'm giving Callahan some grace here. I think that somebody else should have to have some accountability and answer some of these tough questions. But good luck.
Yeah, right now it feels like the blind leading the blind. But like we say all the time, winning fixes everything. I guarantee you, we win next week or we win this week, and we'll be like, oh, well, we won, but there's this and this and this. We'll still have our negatives to say.
I don't know, man.
And we win next week. We win next week at the Raiders, then we're like, hey, we won 2 in a row. All right. How long has it been since we done that? And we'll talk about it. We'll be probably pretty positive in that mindset. Of course, then, the next week we come back to reality. But what my point? Well, no, that's the Patriots at home, and right now they're 1-2.
You got Arizona in there somewhere. Is it Arizona?
Oh, is there Arizona?
Hell,
I thought we were doing Patriots. Yeah, I was gonna say I haven't looked at the schedule like I normally do, but yeah, I don't know.
You got a three-game homestand. You got the Texans, then you got the Cardinals. That's what I thought. So you're going to have the Cardinals on a short week, or on an extended week for them, I guess it would be, and then the Raiders. Then you come home for the Patriots. But I'm telling you, if they find a way to win even one of these next 2 games, I think I'm just going to have more questions and answers, because it's like, okay, why did they win? Like, was it play calling? So how does that look on Callahan? Was it? That's the thing.
That's the thing is I feel like in the next 2 weeks, we're going to get a lot of answers to a lot of these questions that we have. And I do believe that we will find out if Callahan is able to do this job or not. I think that'll be I think it's pretty obvious already. But if not already obvious to you, I think it'll be pretty damn obvious after these 2 weeks. Because we will see somebody who's calling a play. So really all he has to focus on is game management, which a head coach, that should be your number one thing, is game management. So, and he's not like game planning, because according to him, all the offensive game planning comes from the offensive coordinator, Nick Holmes. Apparently.
I don't know. This is the weirdest team for job descriptions that I've ever seen. This is the most dysfunctional unit that I've ever seen, because you've got your head coach that can't manage a halftime situation, but he's calling plays. You've got an offensive coordinator who's apparently preparing the offense, even though the head coach is the one that's calling the plays. You've got the quarterback who's a rookie who apparently has more say than most quarterbacks in what goes into this offensive scheme. You've got a GM who's kind of a GM, but not really, because he doesn't control the roster, but he kind of does. But Brinker's got final say. Like, it's just so dysfunctional. It is very odd on so many levels. And now you've got a quarterback coach as your play caller, which don't see that every day. But yeah, fun stuff.
Yeah.
Gives us something to talk about.
My God, I was gonna say, dude, we have still so much to talk about. I wanted to talk about so much more. But final thoughts. Final thoughts for me is hang in there. It's week 3. There's a lot of football left. We got 13 more games.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
and, either get strapped in or bail, because it's going to be a fun ride one way or the other. I don't know about fun ride. It's going to be a ride.
It's a ride, all right. And let's not forget, trade deadline extended. I think it's on Halloween, which scary stuff. Really scary stuff. But I think, look, I feel like there's going to be a lot more moves. I feel like this is not a completed roster. I feel like things are going to change. I feel like we're going to see more surprises. I feel like people are going to go that we don't expect to go. It's going to get interesting. It's going to get interesting. But let's before we. I mean, it's a pregame show. It's a pregame show.
Oh yeah, yeah. We didn't do this. Yep.
I mean, even though we didn't even really talk about the game itself, any bold predictions on this one?
Bold predictions. I'll just straight up say I think this is I said that last week. Damn it! I still think it's Cam's first multi-touchdown game. I'll say that,
okay.
and I think Alec Eilmaner gets another one this week.
Okay. Alec Eilmaner, Titans legend, surpassing Traylon Burks after 2 weeks.
Week 2, yeah.
Yeah. So Titans legend. Bold prediction for me. Man, that's tough. I keep saying we're going to have a multi-sack game and somebody's going to find a way to get pressure. I'm still just not too confident in that yet. I do think we'll go with this. I think they find a way to force a turnover, maybe 2. Look, for a Titans team that has its struggles, the Texans have their struggles as well. If they can generate some pressure, I think they can get in C.J. Stroud's face, make him a little uncomfortable, and possibly force 1, maybe 2 interceptions. I don't know. I guess that's bold enough. Final score predictions?
Yeah, I'm keeping it pretty low. I'm going to go, I don't know, 12-17.
Yeah, okay.
Flip a damn coin. I mean,
12,
I'll be honest with you.
All field goals? I mean,
pretty much.
I mean, that doesn't surprise me either. Yeah, okay.
I mean, I'm not, yeah. And like I said, flip a coin, man. It could be Titans or Texans this week, but I don't think by 7, I think that's
yeah.
I don't know, though. I didn't think last week either, so don't go to any betting places with that.
Look, this is one of 2 things. Either the Texans kind of continue to implode and allow Tennessee to keep it close, and I do mean allow them to keep it close, talking about turnovers, some miscues, things like that, or it's just a complete blowout. And I can really see both situations happening. But for me, I'm not ready to say that this is a Titans win. Again, this is a Houston team who really did not expect to be 0-3. You've already added fuel to the fire with L'Jarius Sneed talking in the locker room about Collins. This is a team who desperately wants to get things right because they still have playoff hopes. This is a team who still thinks they have enough talent to compete at a high level, to win the division, and to compete for a Super Bowl. I'm not saying they will, but that's their expectations. That was the expectations going into the season, and they still think they have a shot at that. The Titans, on the other hand, just feel like they're just trying to make it to Week 18. That's kind of, and I hate to say that, but seriously, they really feel like a team who's just kind of going through the motions and just trying to make it to the end of the season and have something positive to talk about. Obviously, that's not what we want. I want to continue to see Cam improve and do the right things and kind of learn as he goes. I'm just not ready to say the Titans find a way to win this one. I don't think they're there. I think Houston has a lot to play for, and it just doesn't feel like Tennessee has the right people and the right motivation to go and get this done on the road. I hate to say it, but if I'm going one way or the other, I don't love the 7, but again, I feel like it could turn into that. Let's go 24-7 Houston. Like, I think this is another tough one. Yeah, I do. I just like I don't think making Bo Hardegraaves your play caller. I don't think that fixes the receivers. I don't think that fixes the mistakes. I don't think that fixes the penalties. So tough for me to see them winning this game. And I promise I'm not a Debbie Downer. I do think here's my within the next 2 games. I will predict a Titans win. Between Arizona and the Raiders, I'll find a way to maybe predict a Titans win somehow, but it ain't this week. No shot.
All right. Well, if you made it all the way through this show without,
God
needing
bless
an
you.
antidepressant or some alcohol or something like that, yeah, God bless you, and thank you for sticking with us through the pain of naysayer. Boo.
Call it like I see it.
Yeah, man. I mean, to be honest with you, it's not great right
now.
But anyway, thank you for sticking with us. If it's your first time watching us, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Catch us at all your social media interactions. Maximus Titan fan, Link Rogers. Until next time, tighten up.
Tighten up.
Peace out.